Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for the live Q&A session here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips, tricks, techniques, things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And then I get together with you in these weekly chats to talk about a topic or two, or three, or five. We'll see. If you're not new here, then you know every week we have a new poll, and I actually have the correct poll this time. You guys will be so proud of me. Today's poll is, what is the biggest challenge for you as either an audiobook producer or an author? Because today's live stream is for both. I have both. Watch my channel. What is the biggest challenge in author-narrator collaborations? I think I just had like a hair fall into my eye. I apologize. Timing. Your options are clear creative vision between the two of you, fair pay and contracts, meeting deadlines, because I hear this a lot, and distribution and or promo or promoting the book. Which of these options is the biggest challenge for you as either an author or an audiobook narrator? So far on YouTube, and YouTube is the only place where you have an actual poll. And again, I'm streaming on all kinds of platforms again today. We have 27 votes so far. 19% of you said clear creative vision. 30% of you said fair pay and contracts. 22% of you said meeting deadlines. And 30% of you said distribution and promotion. Yeah. I think, really, what should we start with? I think most of these can be addressed with clear communication in the beginning together. If what I typically do with my authors now is before we even start on the project, I will have a conversation with the author via Zoom. I'll usually meet with them for 10 minutes. Sometimes they go for 20, 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on, how well the conversation's going or what we have going on for the day. And having a conversation about the client's, not only their expectations, but their vision for what the author wants, because ultimately it's the author's show, right? We as audiobook producers, we are trying our best to give the author what they're looking for. So having a conversation about their vision for the book in the beginning is going to solve a lot of these problems before you even start. And what you want to discuss with the author is the story, if there is a story, right? What is the purpose of this book? Is it nonfiction? Is it fiction? What is the background of the characters? What is going on? What is the plot, right? Are there any twists that you need to know about? Obviously, as an audiobook producer, you should be reading through the book before you even start production. But during this conversation, the author should give you some sort of a clear direction or vision for this project. You should also talk about, and ideally, you would want to be able to peruse the manuscript before you have a conversation with the author too, so you can take a look at it and confirm the word count. I always stress that, confirm the word count before you start. So that way you're all on the same page in terms of pricing and project deadlines, right? But looking through the manuscript first will also give you the opportunity to check and see if it's perhaps a nonfiction, and if there are any tables, charts, illustrations, anything like that, that at that point you can suggest to the author that those need to be included in a accompanying PDF, perhaps. But in turn, you as the audiobook production producer, good Lord, can suggest to the author that they can be put into an accompanying PDF, and then how you as the narrator can handle referencing these illustrations, charts, graphs, right? Because they obviously can't be narrated. For example, so if there is a table or an illustration on page 30 and you get to the point where you as the narrator are getting to a point where you reference the illustration, you could say, see the illustration on the accompanying PDF table 1 or however it's labeled. So those are things that need to be adjusted within the manuscript for the audiobook producer as well. Any pronunciation tips, if this is a work of fiction, or even if there's maybe perhaps specific lingo or terminology that is associated with the topic at hand, those are things that you want to hash out with the author first as well. If the author can even give you a audio file of pronunciations that you can reference at any time is definitely helpful, or at the very least phonetic spelling of the words that you're saying. I've even had authors give me links to the specific words in or with Merriam-Webster. So they'll send me a link to the word pronunciation from Merriam-Webster. If it's a work of fiction and there are it's a fantasy, so there's made up names and places, spelling and pronunciation is definitely going to help with that, or pronunciation rather. What else? If there's, plot twists. If there's anything that you need to know up front about, how to handle the story, if there's a big plot twist at the end, all of these things need to be discussed. And then also timelines can also be discussed in this conversation as well. And also where the author is, what their direction is in terms of where they plan to distribute, or how they plan to promote the book. All of these things that we have in the poll can be addressed. Basically, I feel like I'm just going off on a tangent. Can be addressed in the conversation beforehand. There was something else that I wanted to mention that is not coming to me now. But this is definitely the time for questions. If you have any kind of questions about, or even clarifying how the contract should be written out, how are you getting paid? Is this going to be, if it's through a platform that does royalty share, is this going to be royalty share plus? If this is a per finished hour or a pay for production book, are you collecting a down payment? Are you collecting 30% of the entire production up front, 50%, 25%? All of these things can be discussed beforehand, and I recommend that they are. This will clear up a lot of issues. What else is there? Let's get over to the comments and see. I see an awful lot of questions and comments, so let's get over to the comments. We are on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We are in a lot of places again today. So if you have questions, I'm going to try to address everybody's questions everywhere, so bear with me. Let me take this banner off the screen, and we're going to go over to, let's check and see. I had a couple people on Instagram. We got some people on TikTok. Thank you, everybody, for joining and for liking. I appreciate you. I have fully unlocked my full TikTok live experience, so now I can actually, I guess, monetize. I don't know how that goes. But if you have questions, please let me know. Let's see, any questions? I'm just scrolling through TikTok. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I appreciate you. Be sure to like and all the fun things. All right, let's get over to the comments. Paul was here on YouTube before I was. Hi, Angela, liking the new cover page. Oh, yes, I'm trying some new things. You never know what's going to work until you try, right? Thank you very much for that. Good day all from Dunmow, UK. Paul was here early. Good morning. Jason Kirkover on YouTube says, good morning from Kearney. Thank you for the pronunciation tip. I appreciate it. Those are always useful. So ready for this live today. Good. And don't forget, these are here not for me just to be a talking head. So if you have questions, then please ask. That's what these are for. Please ask the questions. Jason says, I would say promo and distribution marketing is a huge problem. I have several royalty share books I have several royalty share plus books and a few royalty share I did early on that have made almost no traction. Well, keep in mind, this is not directly at you, Jason, but anybody watching. If you decide to take on a royalty share or a royalty share plus book, you are also expected to promote the book. It's only fair. It's a team effort, right? A lot of times authors, let's just say you're finding audiobooks in ACX and the author has detailed how they plan to promote the book, that's great. I'm also hearing that a lot of authors are looking for the audiobook narrator to have a social media following as well, which would also make sense because what you would want from the author in terms of their marketing plan is also the same thing they're looking for in an audiobook narrator, right? So as I always say, for those of you, and I've tried to beat this into your head several times, get onto social media and start building that following just for that reason alone. But there are a lot of easy ways to promote the audiobook on social media as the audiobook production, or producer rather, the audiobook production manager, which is you. Have that conversation with the author at the beginning and then you can talk about how they plan to promote it, how they expect you to promote it. And at that time, you can also ask them permission to live stream you narrating the book, you producing the book, generating some hype for the book, right? And then you can also take clips of yourself narrating the book and then post those on social media, coming soon. And then when the book is done, you can take the retail sample, which is a standard for audiobook narration is to have a retail sample, and this is what it's for, right? To not only promote the book on Audible or wherever it goes, but you can also use that retail sample and then a static image of the cover art and then create a short little video about, hey, it's out now on Audible now, those sorts of things. You can promote the book just like the author can. And should. You both should be promoting it, right? So I wouldn't say to turn away an audiobook production just because maybe the author doesn't have a huge social media following. Maybe you don't either at that time. And this is an opportunity for the both of you to sort of spread your wings in the social media world and, promote the book together. But, there are some ways to promote the book, and I think what you're hinting at, Jason, is perhaps maybe the book, not only for the promotion aspect of it, but maybe it wasn't a book that was a trending topic, or maybe it wasn't something that was evergreen. Maybe it wasn't something that was already selling well, or maybe it's really, really super niche content. And if that's the case, then social media might definitely help building or boosting sales for that. It's really going to depend on what, I guess, the meaning is, or what your point is in terms of no traction. Jason then continues and says, I would love some tips for my own personal marketing. And is there anything I can do to help the rights holder, or do I look for one with better marketing? All of the things that I just mentioned about social media and things that you can do as the producer, those are all things that can be done. You can also have a page on your personal website, your business website about, for voiceover audiobook narration, you could have a page that you could call it your portfolio or, finished works, and then have links to those on Audible. So people can go to your page, listen to things that you've done. And if they find something they like that way, they can purchase the audiobook right then and there. It's another great way to promote the book. Jason says, trying not to be selfish. I love performing and producing audiobooks and working with authors. Well, that's good. And you're not being selfish. I think it's the same concern that the author has, right? They want to make sure that this team effort is not going to be in vain. You both want good results. So you both need to work on producing those results, right? Kat says hello. Good morning, Kat. Hannah's here. Hey, Hannah. Good evening from Estonia. I don't really know which answer to choose because I haven't worked with an author yet, but I chose fair pay because with the couple of VO jobs that I've done, I've noticed that people always want to pay less. I have the lowest price possible on Fiverr, but people are still bargaining. And then I put in so much work and time and effort and so little money. Raise your prices. Raise your prices, especially if we're talking about Fiverr, because Fiverr likes money just like you do. And I have found that if your prices are higher, they'll promote you more. I'm not saying that's a fact. I'm just saying that from my own experience. And here, we're all looking for, we're all looking for the best price for. Nobody wants to pay a bunch of money. Let's just say that nobody does. And I find that especially on Fiverr, there's a lot of like people starting YouTube channels that need a lot of narration. And so they're looking for bulk pricing, which only makes sense if they're going to be hiring you for, let's just say, to narrate scripts for their YouTube channel twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 6 times a week. Maybe they don't have the money to pay you $100 per narration. Maybe you can come up with a bulk discount for them. That's pretty typical for YouTube narration or something like that, a bulk kind of a situation. This is overwhelming. There's just so much going on. I keep losing my train of thought. But ultimately, you don't have to take the lower prices either, right? And you saying that you have the lowest price possible on Fiverr, but that I would just say increase your prices or be flexible with prices. Usually when you're starting out, you're usually starting at the lowest price available on Fiverr because you need that social proof. But once you start to get a few reviews under your belt, I recommend increasing your prices. You don't have to stay at, I'm guessing you're at the $5 price point. You don't have to stay there forever. Increase your prices. I think, Hannah, what we need to do is to take a look at your Fiverr gig specifically, and we can give you some pointers on what to fix. So then that way the base price is set maybe at $5, but then with the other add-ons and an additional word count, you can make more money per order and start attracting some higher dollar clientele. Glowen says, good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are. Good morning to you, Glowen. My Cup of Tea says, good morning, all. Good to be back for a live stream. Hope you're all doing well. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to see if there was any... let's see. Any questions on the Tiki-Talkies? It doesn't look like it. All right, let's see. Glowen says, I chose fair pay and contract because so much per finished hour work is only offering $50 per finished hour. That doesn't mean you have to take it. That doesn't mean you have to take it. Again, if you think about it from the author's perspective, a lot of times these clients at this price point are either just dipping their toes in the water with their debut novel, or I think more likely this is people maybe, I hate to say it, but using AI to write books for business purposes, right? Or AI assisted books for business purposes. And of course, as a business, you don't want to have to pay a bunch of money, right? You want to be able to get this audiobook done as cheap as possible. That way you can make more profit on selling it to whomever, right? But it doesn't mean that you have to take those audiobooks, right? If you're solely relying on places like ACX to find audiobook clients, then I say it is time for you to get out. Go out to Google, as we've talked about before, and start looking up other audiobook distribution companies. There are dozens upon dozens of them. Reach out to them and see if they have a place on their roster for you. Get on to social media. As I've said a million times before, you'll start attracting clients to you, and then you can, offer them the rate that you want to work at. So you don't have to take those $50 per finished hour books. You don't have to. Gia says, good afternoon, Angela and everyone. I have been fortunate to work with some good authors, collaboration-wise. So far, I'm very excited for this chat. Good. And don't forget, again, these are for you, so if you have questions, ask your questions. Glowen says, and of course, the majority of what I see being offered for royalty share these days is 10-plus hours booked by no-name rights holders. Everybody starts out as a no-name. Even you as an audiobook producer, you start out as a no-name too, right? And it's not so much the author that gives a good audiobook the horsepower. It's a good topic. It's a trending topic, an evergreen topic, and a good production. Having a good narrator for a brand new author's book can make or break that book, right? Can really skyrocket an author for their debut novel with a good production. And if you do find a 10-plus hour royalty share book, you can offer that author, or suggest, rather, royalty share plus. Again, you don't have to approach these as, you don't have to approach these and take these offers at face value. You can negotiate. You can have these discussions with the authors and perhaps come to an agreement or something, negotiate a little bit. That's having the employee versus the CEO mindset. You start thinking like a business owner and negotiate, barter even, I feel like I'm losing my train of thought. There's just so much going on. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Don't forget to hit the like and all of the stuff. I appreciate you. Tanya says, even and all, the poll was tough today. I chose fair pay, but it could be any of them at one point or another. Did I already read this one? Maybe I didn't. Or maybe fair pay is just the topic of the day. Let's see, looking over at the poll, it is wow, it's almost a three-way split between distribution and promo, fair pay and contracts, and clear creative vision. Interesting. So all of your meeting deadlines, huh? Fair pay I think, is also subjective. It depends on what you consider to be fair for the work at hand. And I think a lot of that has to do with how well you explain your value to the author as well. Right? Because if we think about it, non-union industry standard is, union industry standard is $250 USD per finished hour. Whereas non-union can go all the way up to like 1,000 per finished hour. But it's also going to depend on what the author is planning to do with the audiobook. As I mentioned before, maybe it's just for, solely business purposes. But you can ground, plant your feet in your pay rate and not budge from that either. I think it comes down to just broadening your horizons, getting onto more rosters and getting your face out there to be visible by more people. I think at this point, the majority of everyone starting out, and I did this too. I'm not sitting on any kind of high horse at all. But it wasn't until I made myself available and visible on social media that I started to get what I was asking for, right? So that is really the key, is to broaden your horizons to a wider audience as an audiobook producer. Lewis says, hello. Hello, Lewis. Hannah says, I'm going to share my high and low of this week too. My high was that I got my hobo booth built. Good, with PVC pipes and duvet blankets. Could be better. Definitely an upgrade. I can share a pic of it on the Facebook group My low is this week has been that I'm still frustrated with my audio quality. I've put so much time into learning EQ, compression, plugins, etc., but it's still not like I wanted. I feel like I'm too stupid to know my audio. Stop it. Get my audio pristine. Okay, Hannah, let me share something with you. I didn't get my audio quality under control until I was at least a good year in, and I had to hire an audio engineer to help me. And it turns out that I wasn't that far off. It was all up here. So A, don't be so hard on yourself. You're a lot further along than you were a month ago, right? Give yourself credit for that. And don't be so hard on yourself. You're just starting out with something new. You're learning something new. There's a learning curve to brand new things, and this is very technical. Learning how to produce audiobooks is very technical. There's a lot to learn, not only in the performance aspect, but on the technical side. So give yourself a break. It's going to take the time that it's going to take to get all of these things done and dialed in. Give yourself a break. Give yourself some grace. It's going to take some time. You'll get there. Don't be so hard on yourself. Alexander says, I am not yet in the biz and want to hear about this. Well, good. I'm hoping you're finding some of this informative, at the very least entertaining. Mary Lynn says, sorry I'm late. I brought an apple baby. And what's an apple baby? And a hot cocoa. Sounds very sugary. What's an apple baby? What's an apple baby? I'm hungry, so don't talk to me about food. RLT Press on TikTok says, good morning. One way I do promo is make in the booth TikToks of me recording a current or upcoming book to help build excitement and visibility. Exactly. That is one of the easiest things that you can do. Social media, folks. And I know, I can hear everybody give me the eye roll and the cringe. I totally understand that. But even if you don't want to show your face, you don't necessarily have to, right? If you wanted to, you could just show your waveform or something on the screen. And then as long as they can hear you, and maybe you have some cover art for the book, right? Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Just get out there and do it, right? Just get out there and do it. And it benefits not only you as a beginner audiobook producer, but it also benefits the author as well, to get them out there into the interwebs and promote the book for both of you. Alexander says, brand new sub here. Thank you. Been interested in this for years, worked briefly in both TV and radio, and did one VO job years ago. What is your best advice for a true beginner? I have, thank you for the sub, I have a lot of videos. Most of my content here on my channel for YouTube is directed toward brand new voice artists and brand new audiobook narrators. And I have met a lot of people transitioning from TV and radio into voiceover and audiobook narration. And I think the biggest challenge for them is overcoming the announcer voice, is overcoming the radio voice, is sort of relaxing. And I would want to say relaxing, but like undoing everything that you have learned as the right way to do it is now a completely different way. And I think that is usually the hardest part for the folks coming out of TV and radio. But I would say for you, Alexander, if you're just getting started, start to consume some content. Get involved into Facebook groups, Discord groups, communities of voice artists and audiobook narrators, and start to just learn the lingo, which a lot of it you probably already know. Learn the ins and outs of audiobook narration, voiceover, the technical side, all of the stuff, because there is a lot. There is a lot to this, a lot more than I ever anticipated. And I hear that all the time. This is just way overwhelming, and it is. And there's a lot of variables from place to place to place, right? From studio to studio, from voice to voice, equipment. It's all going to be different for everyone. So there's a lot to learn. So start consuming content and start learning some things, but join some groups for camaraderie, feedback, for learning the ins and outs of whatever DAW that you choose, right? But don't stay in the procrastinating stage forever. Don't stay there forever. Eventually step out and start making content of your own. But my YouTube channel is a great place to start, VoiceOver Angela. Just saying. Miriam's here. Hello, Miriam. Hello from Oregon. Hannah says, where's my competitor for top commenter? Caesar, yeah. Caesar is, they're having a lot of issues over there with the volcano, I think, and internet is still spotty. Or he might just be busy. He's a busy dude. Miriam says, that's my issue with how to promote the book I narrated. Even when I receive the ACX promo codes, I still don't know how to promote the book on social media. Everything that we had just mentioned about promoting the book. Remember, you don't have to stay in one particular linear lane for promoting a book. You go promote the book however you and the author want to promote the book. It's up to you guys to promote it. You don't have to just rely on ACX promotion codes. Get onto social media, create little snippets of the audiobook and, make several of them and, post them on social media and then post them again and then post them again and post, you know what I mean? Record some snippets of you narrating the book live on whatever platform you can go live on, right? Don't overthink it. And you don't have to stay in one particular lane, right? Get that CEO mindset. Do what you need to do. Do what you want to do, right? Thank you for everybody for joining on the Tiki Talkies. The Indian Feather on YouTube says, question, I have a pro demo that is going to be produced through a company that I am training with. Would you wait for that or get with a DIY demo now? I'm glad you brought this up, the Indian Feather, because this is a great question that I don't think is discussed often enough. And for those of you that have watched me for any number of years at this point, know my answer to this. If you are just starting out in voiceover, and whether you are or not the Indian Feather, especially if you're just starting out, there's a good chance that you don't have all of your performances nailed yet. You don't have all of your effects racks down. You don't have your studio completely dialed in yet, right? And then you have someone produce a professional demo for you. That demo is not going to reflect what you can do on your own. If you can't recreate the sound of that and performance, what that client hears in that professional demo yourself, that's going to be a problem for the client, right? If you have somebody direct you through a professional demo and then they take your audio and they reduce the noise, they reduce the echo, they make it sound like it's a pristine multi-million-dollar studio. But then the client hires you and they expect to hear that quality in the audio file that you produce, and you can't do that. Can you see where this is going to be a problem? So that is why I say for beginners, create your own DIY demos, because that will accurately reflect what you can produce on your own right now. I'm not saying never get a professional demo made. I mean, that's an exciting time when you can actually get that professional demo made. I've actually never had a professional demo made for me. I've always just through, the inherent learning and growing and getting better as I go, I have been able to produce my own demos that just sound better and better and better on my own. And at the same time, accurately reflects what I can do, what I can provide to the client, right? Especially if we're talking audiobooks. Because if that author is expecting to hear what this professional audio engineer has made for you, and you can't create that, that's a problem for, 30-something odd plus files that you have to now massage to get close to what that demo sounds like. So I don't recommend professional demos to be made for brand new people to the industry, because stick with DIY and then get better on your own with time. Make sense? Felt like a tangent. Shanna says hello from Minnesota. Hello. Hannah says, I feel like I will have so many questions about these topics once I get my first audiobook or start getting audiobook work, but right now I don't even know what I don't know. Exactly. And the more that you stick with it and the more you consume content, the more you get involved with groups and communities and start asking questions and then, being part of live streams and things like that, exactly what you're doing now, you will start to learn the things that you don't know. I'm sure there's still a lot that I don't know. There's no way that I can know everything, right? There's no way. So don't hold that against yourself either. You're not going to know everything about everything. You just can't. But the more that you consume this stuff and get involved, the more you will learn with time. The Indian Feather says, what about the NS1 noise reduction and maybe purchasing a pack from them for helping with audio production? It all depends on if you need it. Don't apply effects if you don't need them. Because even the effects that are meant to enhance your sound, they all have destructive qualities. If you use too much of something, it's going to just make your audio sound worse. So don't put effects on your audio files that you don't need, right? And this is at the point where you should probably ask somebody in a community that uses the same DAW that you do, meaning if it's Adobe Audition, if it's Reaper, Studio One, whatever it is that you use, get with somebody else and maybe record a raw audio file, give it to that other person and just say, hey, what do you see in this? What do you think? What kind of effects do you think I could use? Or if you want to, get with an audio engineer and just, put that concern to bed right away. They can help you with an effects rack and tell you exactly what you need and fine tune your effects to your specific studio and your equipment. Professor Tracy says, good morning from Rochester. Good morning. Kevin says, have done a couple of audiobooks, just got going on Fiverr. 3 guys have contacted me saying they've got a long-term thing for me, but we need to talk over the phone. Sounds sketchy. It could be sketchy, or it could be they don't understand that you can't share personal contact information on Fiverr. I wouldn't immediately jump to it sounds sketchy. How many times have you read the terms of service to something? Probably never. Our clients are the same way. They've probably never read through the terms of service on Fiverr that clearly states you cannot share your personal contact information, that all conversations need to remain on the Fiverr platform. They just don't know. So you as the professional on Fiverr, you say, per this site's terms of service, we have to keep our conversations here. We cannot share personal contact details. Anything that you need me to know can be uploaded directly here on this platform. That's all you need to say, right? Usually that's the case with clients that contact me that want my email address or, those sorts of things. They just don't know. They don't realize you can't do that. Shauna says, is it common to request a percentage up front? It didn't occur to me to ask for that. Assumed payment followed after files were delivered. And that's okay. That's one of those things that you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. So, but yes, you can. If it's a per finished hour book, part of your process could be collecting a percentage of that up front. And I recommend that too, because that dissuades scammers. Because scammers don't want to pay for anything. But if you tell them you collect 20%, 30%, in my case, 50% up front, that also covers your time to read through the book, mark up the manuscript, do all the work that starts before you even hit the record button, right? And then if they decide to go a different direction or to cancel, maybe something comes up and they don't want to finish the book, then you can make sure it's in your contract to keep a portion of that or all of that down payment to cover your time if they decide to part ways with you. So doing all of that is what I recommend to do. But yes, you can. And that percentage, whatever that percentage is totally up to you. Let's see, we got a couple of questions on Instagram. Aaron Brentwood says, I just finished a 14.6 hour audiobook. Took almost a month. Wow, that's pretty fast. That's pretty fast. A 15-hour audiobook in a month? It's pretty fast. Sage says, hi, Angela and everyone. Sorry I'm late. Apple fritters and pumpkin spice tea. That sounds amazing. Aaron says, do you have any tips on how to work more efficiently? That's going to vary from person to person. And I guess what your definition of efficient is. In terms of time or making less mistakes, or I always recommend having a planner. And we had this conversation last night in a VO's Journey, the women's meeting, because I had the same question about time efficiency. Having a day planner that I can write in has definitely helped me also convert my employee mindset to the CEO mindset, right? But having everything on a planner, and that means, writing out a block of time for today to update your samples or to update your demos or to narrate chapters 1 through 3 on this book and then edit chapters 15 through 21 on this book. If you can write all of that stuff down, it will definitely keep you on track, right? But as you start, and then you start to get a couple of books under your belt, you'll start to realize how much time things take you to do. So you'll have a better understanding on how to manage time going forward, and how much time things are going to take you to do. And again, a 15-hour audiobook in a month is pretty darn fast. I mean, for me, that would take me probably 2 months to do. So that's pretty good. You should be proud of yourself. Lovina on Instagram says, the client making a partial payment up front protects us as VO talent. Exactly. Also shows which clients are serious. Exactly. Yep. And dissuades scammers. If they balk at that is how you do business. Then maybe at that point you need to decide whether or not you want to continue doing business with them. Right? I don't know if you guys can hear my stomach growling. Apple fritters. Alexander on YouTube says, question, should a narrator use an ad agency to promote a book they have a royalty share with? You could. I mean, you don't have to. You could promote it yourself with the equipment that you already have. You already have pretty much everything you need. If you have a cell phone, you have everything you need to promote the book, right? If you get Canva, you could do so much with Canva. If you have a cell phone, Canva, and maybe a little lavalier mic like I've got here. I'm hoping this helps on TikTok, by the way. I hope it sounds okay. You guys can tell me if it sounds like garbage or not. But that's pretty much all you need to promote a book. But if you want to go a step beyond that and buy ad space, you can do that too. Of course. Review Exchange Group says, with ACX, be careful on what you say you will provide. They can take a dim view of it and suspend your account. A simple invitation to an off-platform author self-help group can do you in. With ACX? I've never heard of ACX suspending someone. That's interesting. Tell me more. Hannah says, yep, makes sense what you're saying. I just thought of that. If I raise my prices, then no one will order. Also, Fiverr has a 20% service fee, so in the end, it's candy money for hours of work. That's just the cost of doing business. Every platform is going to take a piece. That is their piece of the pie for hosting you. Fiverr has paid millions of dollars in advertising to get traffic to their site. They're hosting your business there. So yeah, they're going to take a piece. So does Upwork. So does every other platform. Every platform is going to do that. This is another reason why I encourage you all to get your own website. Get onto social media and drive traffic to your website to eliminate most of that, third person interference or charges. So it's a direct client for you. But I think that if you think no one will order, I would say think again. What you might need to do at the same time of increasing your pricing, update your demos, update your thumbnails, update the entire gig, all of your gigs, do it all at one time, and then just let it sit. for a couple of weeks. Again, the Fiverr algorithm, there's a natural ebb and flow to it. So there's going to be weeks where you're, up towards the top of the search. And then there's going to be weeks when you're, down at the bottom of it. But it does that for everyone. It's a natural, mixing everybody up. So everybody has a equal opportunity. So if you're not seeing any business at all, then I would take that opportunity to just update everything on your gig. And maybe even for you, Hannah, increasing your pricing. Glowen says, a lot of my problem is right now I'm still trying to build my completed book portfolio. For your website? Chris says, from Southern California, that's where I was born and raised. I'm a Southern California baby. I'm hoping to get out of the procrastinating phase by this year so that I can be where I'm actually able to get experience. All helpful info. Good. Just get out there and get that experience. You're not going to get the experience unless you go get the experience. You have to go do it to get it, right? Miriam says, so if you do negotiate on the 7-hour or more royalty share or royalty share plus, if your usual rate is 110, how much would you suggest to the author? That's up to you. That's up to you. It's usually a smaller amount for royalty share plus. You could offer them. It's going to be a negotiation, right? So if your normal rate is $110 per finished hour, you could start at 80 and then negotiate with them. Maybe they'll counter at 70. And then, you know what I mean? So just throw out a number that you think is fair and go from there. I did see a question on TikTok. Let me go back. Shane asked, do I still do YouTube? Yep, I'm on YouTube right now. I'm on YouTube. I'm live on YouTube right now. Scott says, hi, Angela. Hi, Scott. How do I figure out a duet rate for an audiobook narration? If you have somebody in mind that you're already working with, if they have a higher rate than you, go with their rate. But keeping a consistent rate for the both of you just makes things easy. That's also going to depend on the rate. Is also going to depend on who's doing the production part, who's doing the mixing, the mastering, the formatting, who's doing all of that stuff. That person's going to get a little bit of a higher piece of that pie too, because that's obviously more work, right? But I would say for duet and dual narration, I would say that is easily close to $250 per finished hour, because it is work, because you and the other narrator are going to be working via Zoom to read with each other, because that chemistry is really going to matter, right? That interaction is going to make the difference. So that, of course, is going to take more time. That is going to take more effort, right? So having a higher per finished hour rate for dual and duet just makes sense. Dylan is here. Hey, Dylan. One thing I've benefited from is targeting local-ish authors that have a series of books. I've met a lot at Comic Cons. Once you deliver the first book in the series, you've got the rest in queue. There you go. See, just get out there. Social media, get out into your community. You never know what you're going to find. Go to all the cons, too. Go to all the cons with your business cards. Make friends, network, interact. Hello, D. Review Exchange Group says, a goal of my podcast is to raise the perceived value of indie authors. Yeah, I like doing that too. I like working with indie authors a lot. Most readers, listeners have no idea of the quality coming out of the indie community. By far, most books are indie authored. Exactly. So we can't look at brand new authors and look down at them for maybe not knowing what to offer as a per finished hour rate, or knowing what the difference is between royalty share and, you know what I mean? We have to remember as audiobook producers that we are the professionals. We are here to guide and educate and collaborate with authors, right? There's going to be a lot of brand new authors. Making a book, producing a book, publishing a book is the better word, is easier than it ever has been to self-publish. So there's a lot of people producing or publishing books. So it's not a bad thing. Therese on YouTube says, hello again, everyone. I'm not getting the books I'm auditioning for. What are typical missteps for new narrators like myself? I wouldn't discount yourself just yet. If you're not getting the books that you're auditioning for, is because you were either A, not the voice they were looking for, simply, or what is going on with Facebook? Facebook is having an issue. Or maybe we need to work on your sound. Maybe we need to tweak your studio sound a little bit. Maybe there's reverb. Maybe the microphone's turned the wrong way. Again, for you, Therese, the best advice I have for anybody starting out is to consume content, get involved in groups, join communities, ask a question, make friends, network, right? You'll start to learn a whole lot more by getting involved and there's a lot more that you can learn in the doing. Get some feedback on your auditions. Have other people, like peer feedback, have other people in the group or in the community listen to an audition of yours, a recent audition, and see what they say. They could say it sounds like you're talking into a tube and there's something that you need to adjust, or you know what I mean? Maybe there's 5 seconds of silence at the beginning that no author is going to sit through. Right? There could be small adjustments that you need to make. So I would say get feedback on your auditions, Therese, and see if we can ferret out what the issue is. Or maybe you just weren't the voice they were looking for, plain and simple. But keep auditioning. That's why we audition a lot. Just keep auditioning. Set a daily goal for yourself and hit that goal every day until you start booking some work. Plain and simple. The more auditions you submit, the more work you're going to get. Hannah says, you're right. Another thing I'm trying to learn next to my DAW and everything about VO and narration, I'm trying to learn to be less hard on myself. It's been a lifelong challenge, but I'm trying. Yeah, we are our own worst critics. We just are. I still don't like the sound of my own voice 8 years later in this business. I still don't like it. I don't like listening to it. I have to listen to it when I'm doing my editing and all of the final things that I have to do with the audio, but I don't like listening to it. It makes me cringe still. Review Exchange Group says to Chris, your Oceanside neighbor recommends to do some auditions this month, not next. Yep, go get it now. Go into ACX and even pick a book you have no interest in. Just practice the process. And then be sure to post that audition as a sample. Remember, on ACX, 60% of the jobs awarded on ACX are from the auditions. The other 40% are from the samples. So every audition that you submit, use that audition as also a sample. Just make sure that you're naming the sample, what is reflected in that audition. Meaning, male POV, nonfiction, or fantasy, or whatever it is. Be descriptive in the sample title. And then refresh those every so often. Hannah says, I know how important it is to be loving to yourself. So guys, let's practice being more loving to ourselves together. Yeah. Hold on. Excuse me. Haven't got all the morning goo out yet this morning, apparently. What was the thing I was just going to say? And while you're loving yourself, love and thank a veteran. It's Veterans Day. Thank a veteran for their service today. It is Veterans Day. Oh, I just missed a bunch of ask about YouTube. Any more questions on TikTok? Doesn't look like it right now. Okay. Let's see. Therese on YouTube says, I have a broadcast background and shedding the announcer in me can be difficult. And I hear that all the time from people that are coming from that industry. That is the hardest thing for them to do. Kat says, Launchpad Thursdays. Yes. Definitely join our Launchpad. There's a link in the description on YouTube to join our A VO's Journey Academy, and there's 3 different tier levels of membership. The entry level tier is Launchpad, which is me, basically. You get to hang out with me for 2 hours every Thursday. We have a meeting about, we review Fiverr gigs. We talk about ACX. We go through all kinds of gamified experiences with expressing emotions. We give characters voices. We do a lot of fun things. And then the next tier up is core, which is Launchpad. Plus, you get like a dozen other classes from 5 other coaches throughout the course of the month. And then the top tier is premium, which is everything I just stated. Plus, you get like a monthly meeting with the coach of your choice for, I think it's 30 minutes. So go to a VO's Journey Academy and check it out. And then hang out with us on Thursdays. Hannah says, okay, got to run to dance class. Have a good dance class. Yep, hit the like button, do all the YouTubey things for everybody watching. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It really does help all of my platforms to push me out in front of the faces of everybody looking for this information. So it really does. It just do me a solid and hit the like, hit the follow, hit the subscribe. Thank you so much. It really does matter. Thank you, everybody on Instagram who is watching. Alexander says, question, do you offer any private sessions? I do. If you go to my website, voiceoverangela.com, you can find me there on my one-on-one page. That's where you can book like 30-minute sessions with me. Or I have a mentorship program where you can meet with me at any interval you choose, either 4 times or 12 times, depending on how much hand-holding you need. And some of us need some hand-holding. I did. I definitely did. But depending on how much help you need, I have a few options there. So just go to my website, voiceoverangela.com. Joy is here. Hey, Joy. Good afternoon, Angela and company. Got brownies today. Oh, boy. Last Thursday, I remembered you mentioned something about a sing-song pattern I had in a read I did and wanted to know how to break it. That is something that we're going to have to work on together, I think. And I think when we do, goodness, the sing-song thing is we're not clearly understanding what we're saying. We're not taking the time to interpret the script, to understand who we're talking to, why we're talking to them, and what we're saying. We're just reading the words with artificial inflection. That is more than likely what you're doing, Joy. And you were doing so well, too, and you sort of reverted back to the sing-song thing. But I think that was only because you were trying a new accent. So I think your brain was more focused on the accent than what you were doing. So I don't think that was the issue. Yep, Chamber of Commerce to promote your book. That's right, Rich. Let's see. Review Exchange Group says to Miriam, your concern with the promo codes haunts most authors. I tell my authors, just give them away. Don't be concerned with reviews. Listening hours is most important, then editorial reviews. Eric Grimes is here. Hey, Eric. Hi, Angela. And number 1, Angela has the best VO community around. Thank you, Eric. 2, I also paid lots for training, which included my studio and 2 demos, but I'm most proud of the demos I created myself. I can reproduce that. Exactly. Thank you, Eric. Exactly, yes. Review Exchange Group says ACX discounts the value of promo code reviews and often removes them. Hence, listening hours, editorial reviews, then customer reviews. See, those promo codes don't really even make that much difference. Just hand them out to get those listening hours, right? Emily Lynn says, I've had a cut and run on a 6-hour project. Should have asked up front. Yep, that will prevent that. And then even if they decide to cut the contract for whatever reason, you can have in your contract clause that you keep a percentage, if not all, of that deposit. It's non-refundable. That will cover your time. And I run into this problem a lot. That deposit also places them on my schedule. So if I have to turn down other work because of what I've got in queue, then keeping that deposit also covers the lost work, or at least a portion of the lost work that I lost. Make sense? Or are you lost? Aaron says, hi, thank you for answering your questions. I messed up on my question. Do you have any tips on workflow? Again, workflow is going to differ from person to person, depending on what you have in queue, how much time you have available, and, you know, with other responsibilities, and, you know, if you're a parent, if you have a job during the day, it's going to be different. So Just keep in mind the times of day that you do have available where it's quiet, where you can actually get some work done, and then schedule something to get done within that time, right? Even tell your family from on this day, from this time to this time, I am working. Please do not interrupt me. Do not disturb. I have this sign behind me, or any kind of variant like it. You can have that outside of your office door and turn it on so your family knows to be quiet as they walk by, that you're actively working or recording or whatever it is. Just get creative and tell them to be quiet during those hours. That's usually how most people do it, I think, when I'm asked that question. Hang on, I gotta do the puzzle thing on TikTok. There we go. All right, Review Exchange Group says suspended for 6 days. Interesting. I've never heard ACX suspending anyone. Weird. Emily Lynn says parallel working with colleagues is great for learning. It is. Miriam says thank you. I usually do say around $80, and I've had the authors come back saying that was very reasonable. And then I think, oh shoot, did I go too low? Well, increase it then. Unless you think 80 is fair for a royalty share plus rate. It's up to you. It's your call. You're the boss, right? It's your show, your business. Charisse is here. Good morning, Angela and VO crew. Good morning to you, Charisse. Thanks for joining. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning. Life Unleashed says, hi, Angela and all. So glad I made some of this live. I'm glad that you made it too. Let's see, any other questions on the Tiki Talkies? Thank you for everybody hanging out. Hit that little heart button. I appreciate it. Or smash it a bunch of times. Better yet. Thank you. Alexander says, question, what is Launchpad Thursday? Again, as I just mentioned, if you go to, there's actually a link to enroll in a VO's Journey Academy in the description of YouTube where you're watching this. So you're lucky it's easy. If you go to that link, it'll take you to the different membership plans. It's an academy. It's a voiceover audiobook academy. And Launchpad is the beginner's sort of base level of the academy, and that's called Launchpad. And that is where I basically take over. And we meet every Thursday for a couple of hours, and we talk about topics. We have a lot of fun. It's a very supportive, encouraging environment. And we talk about all of the things that we talk about here on YouTube, but then we also get feedback on auditions. We also live read for each other. It's, I think, one of the best things you can do as a beginner, because you get feedback and like instant answers to your questions, and then feedback from multiple perspectives, right? I think being part of a community is one of the best things you can do in the beginning. And I hate tooting my own horn, but toot toot. I think Launchpad is one of the better places to start. And for the price point, you can't beat it. You can't beat it for that price point. For what you get back, there's no way. Cherie says, thank you, Angela. I really enjoyed the interview you gave yesterday, and Vojo. It's wonderful to have a place for Justice Girls. Yeah, I was thinking that too after it ended. Yeah, it was nice just to talk to a group of girls. It was nice. Tanya said to Alexander, if you join a VO's Journey Academy, Angela runs a weekly meeting at 8 p.m. EST on Zoom every Thursday. The only Thursday I think we ever miss during the year is Thanksgiving. So it's a lot of meetings. And they're all recorded. So if you can't meet one, or if you can't make one, I should say, then you can always go back and rewatch it. Jenna says, this is really good info. Thank you for taking the time, Angela. Of course. And it's been an hour already. Holy Moses. Where does the time go? Well, I'll take this opportunity to thank everyone who joined today on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, for as long as that lasted. I don't know what happened with Facebook. It just went, oh, sorry, not working. Edwin says, hey, Angela, what is your experience with children's stories? Anthony told us that is a great place to start with shorter recording durations. It is. It is. I think also another great place to start for audiobook narration are shorter nonfictions, right? Shorter self-help books. I think those are also good because children's stories will usually require you to at least have an understanding of your range with characters, because children's books, we want to have, we want to be engaging and, keep the attention spans of goldfish, right? Children, they need to be entertained and engaged. So having character voices is really going to be helpful with that. But if you don't have any of that, then I would start with shorter self-help books. Alexander to Tanya says, thanks for the support. Life Unleashed says, I'm so grateful I discovered Platinum. Yes, Launchpad used to be Platinum. Platinum was my own, basically the same thing as Launchpad. But now that I've joined forces with Anthony Pica, it's now Launchpad on his website. Miriam says, bye, you're incredible. No, you're incredible. You are incredible. Eric says, Launchpad Thursday is the best thing I've ever done for my VO career. Incredible community and extremely valuable and active Discord. Do it today. Again, there is a link in the description on YouTube to join. I highly recommend it. Tooting again. Tooting our own horns. Tanya says, 7 paid books in since the start of the year. Thank you for all the hearts and 100% and all of the stuff on YouTube, you guys. That must be my Launchpad members. Thank you, everyone, for showing the love. I've learned through VoiceOver Angela and what is now Launchpad. Join us. Yes, thank you. Edwin says, thanks. Awesome, Angela. You rock as always. Thank you, you guys. You guys are all so amazing and awesome and so supportive of even me, and I appreciate it. You know what I noticed today is my channel on YouTube is so close to 40,000 subscribers. We're only like a few hundred away from 40,000. Almost halfway to the placard. So maybe another 7-10 years. I'll have a YouTube placard that I can model for you guys. Oh gosh. But it just humbles me. Just humbles me. So thank you, everybody, for watching and asking your questions. And again, these live streams are for you. So if you have anything that you want to talk about with the group of your peers, then please, put it in the comments of this YouTube video to give me an idea of something to talk about that you want to even talk about. I'm just rambling now at this point, but thank you again, everyone, for joining. And I will be back next Tuesday, same bat time. Same bat channel, and I'll try to keep up with TikTok, Instagram, and all of the platforms and not be as overwhelmed. But I'll see everybody next week. Bye. Bye, bye, bye.